And we are back. Welcome back. You are listening to IBGR.network. IBGR as our call sign as a radio station, but we are so much more than a radio station. We are actually a network of global entrepreneurs coming together to create a shared space for collaboration and business success. And as I always say, your success. And I'm your host, Jan Robberts, the inspirational entrepreneur, and we're already on episode 7 in season 4 today, and I'm talking about habits and whether they are dangerous or whether they provide opportunity today. And that is also very important for entrepreneurs as well, because later on I'm also going to be talking into maybe about a dozen different small habits that you can start implementing if you haven't done already, that really help you in becoming much more effective. So if you just joined us, this is what's going to happen. I'm talking a little bit into habits itself as well, and first of all, I wanted to actually prepare you a bit, because I talk. If you just joined us, I talked into why are habits so important and the role of the habits and why they are so powerful. Now, we can say, oh, you've got bad habits, you've got good habits. You might not even know, either or, never even thought about it. But once you've thought about it, the kind of habits you have, how do they actually start? Now, there's a fascinating thing. So, well, it actually turns out that every habit starts with a psychological pattern called a habit loop. Now, I learned this because it's amazing when you do more and more research on different subjects that interest you, what you come up with, and I thought a habit loop, well, which is a 3-part process. First, there is a cue or a trigger that tells your brain to go into automatic mode, and you get a behavioral unfold, and that's where we think about when we think about habits. That's when these kind of things happen. But it starts with a cue, then it starts to become a curiosity, and eventually we start implementing those kind of things. But more to the point, how do habits work? Now, there's a bit of the nitty-gritty, because once you know how they work, you can actually have a better insight into the ones you have, which you might have to dump or replace with better habits, if that makes any sense. So, all habits proceed through 4 stages in the same order, and it talks into how they work as well. They talk about the cues, the craving, the response, and the reward. Now, I'm going to briefly talk into these stages, because that 4-step pattern is actually the backbone of every habit, and your brain runs through these steps in the same order every single time. So whether you have them, if you recognize them, then you can also recognize where they're going and how they get created and how they work. That as I say, there's a lot more to it, but I'll give you a very brief overview. And the first one is the cue, of course. The cue triggers your brain to initiate a behavior, and it's a bit of information that predicts the reward, basically. So your mind is continuously analyzing your internal and external environment for hints of where rewards are located. You know, it's one of them. Because the cue is the first indication that we are close to a reward. It naturally leads to a craving. Now, some of them people say, "Oh, it's I sense this," but it's happening right inside of us all the time. And then when we get to the craving, of course, now we know where the reward is. So cravings are the second step of the habit loop, and they are the motivational force behind every habit, when you think about it. Because without some level of motivation or desire, without craving a change, we have no reason to act. So, and normally change happens because we want to or because we have to. And if we get a crave for something, it's usually because we want to. And not necessarily because we have to. That usually takes a little bit longer. So the third step is the response. So the response is actually the habit you perform, which can take the form of a thought or an action. Now, whether a response occurs depends on how motivated you are and how much friction is associated with the behavior. Now, see, and there is so much more to that, but as I say, I'll give you a brief overview of these 4, and if you want to research them, you can listen to the podcast and look for these things, and also read the book, The Power of Habit, which is amazing. And it is all about the power of habit. But finally, the response delivers a reward, and rewards are the end goal of every habit. The cue is about noticing the reward. The craving is about wanting the reward. The response is about obtaining the reward. And then we chase rewards because they serve two purposes. They satisfy us and they teach us. Now that is very in its simplistic form. But how do habits actually affect your life then? So habits are our brain's way of increasing its efficiency, or decreasing it, of course, depending on the kind of habits you are. But our brains turn daily actions and behaviors into habits. See, thoughts become actions, action become habits, and habits become your destiny. So we would do them automatically and without too much thought. And that's a good thing, but it's also a bad thing, because it already happens. If you've got a bad habit, it also happens automatically without any thought. So it's keeping us from this freeing us our brain power for other more important things. And this strategy of our brain has wonderful benefits for us. But of course, if the habits are good, and a few examples of habits. Most of these habits are reflexive to us. The behavior is often triggered in a certain context. For example, you may automatically go to brush your teeth after finishing your breakfast. And that's just part of your morning routine. You get up automatically at 7 o'clock, or by the alarm clock, but you go straight away, you go and take a shower. All these things, and these are habits. Then you go and walk the dog when you come home from work. Automatically, you don't have to think about it. The dog's there waiting for you, of course, walking it still, but you automatically. And these are things you don't say, oh, I have to do this, I have to brush my teeth. No, most of these things automatically happen because you're used to it. It's automatic. You don't have to think about it anymore. Some people should be happy that they don't have to think about too many things in life, like breathing, because there's some of them that probably would even forget to do that if it wasn't automatic. But a habit can be healthy, unhealthy, or neutral. So then there are many habits that are very good for you as a human being, but there are equally many habits that will slow you down, stop you in your tracks, or never get you started in the first place. And that's where the problem is. The key is to discover which habits you already have that do not serve you and replace them with those that will benefit you. See, habits are things you can work on. It's not something that's set in stone. It's actually, just because we do them automatically, when we become aware of those automatic actions, then we can do them. We can change them, if we want to, of course. Entrepreneurs need a certain set of habits in order to succeed. I will talk into those so you become aware of them a little bit later. But will you take action and implement it in your life and business? Will you invest time to acquire those habits? That will be your choice to make. But be very aware of the alternative. And it's not always easy to do, and it might sometimes be a fight. But my friend Les Brown, whose birthday it was yesterday, my friend and mentor, he said, if you're not fighting for something you want, the fight for something you don't want automatically takes over. Now think about that. So it's worth the investment of time to discover first what doesn't serve you, and then to actually change those habits. So when it comes to success, these entrepreneurs recognize it is often the smaller disciplines which catapult them far beyond others who may be smarter, more talented, or who have access to more resources, which would seemingly give them the advantage. So I hope that there's a message in there for every entrepreneur, a budding entrepreneur. We can say the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and with a yard it's hard, and with an inch it's a cinch. It's not exactly how I would say it, but basically we talk about these kind of things, but it is the small things that we need to become more aware of. And habit is not a small thing, but we need to become aware of them, and it can change them. It's not going to change you overnight, but you need to start somewhere, and that's certainly discovering which ones you have. So highly effective entrepreneurs succeed beyond their peers and colleagues because they commit to the simple things which provide them the gift, the grit, and the resilience to push ahead. And those simple things in their daily routines have become habits. Now, I've already talked into persistence in a previous session, and it'd be well worth kind of, I run out of time near the end when I talked about the exercise of persistence. But basically, if you take the book Think and Grow Rich, there is a chapter of persistence, just to give you an idea how you can actually gauge your own persistence. And that can become a habit as well over time, of course. So you read a chapter of persistence 14 days in a row. You miss one day, you have to start all over again. And it's not, you read no audio, no nothing. You read it every day. And whether you fool yourself or you have integrity with yourself, all that kind of stuff, I'll leave that up to you. But it's a most amazing exercise, and I would highly recommend it for anybody, because if you can't follow through with persistence, if you can't follow through, then you're going to have bigger struggles and bigger challenges in time to come. But it's a good test for you. Just a little sideline, but you can go back to persistence and why it's important to you and download the podcast as well. But I think we're getting very close. Okay, we've got another 45 seconds. Oh my! But I hope that gives you a little bit of insight. And when I come back, we're going to talk into about a dozen habits over the next 2 sessions that will serve you, that will help you to become more effective, that will give you the impetus to become more, to want to change the ones you've got just now, or even just implement these as an extra. So we're going to take a short 2 to 3 minute break for the radio just now, and when we return, that's exactly what I'm going to talk about. But join us by becoming a member of the Insiders Network, or going to our website, ibgr.network. We've also got social media, and it's Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter at ibgr.network. And also don't forget to download our app. And if you've got any questions, that pulsating question mark on our website, you can ask questions, or on Facebook, you can leave us comments, leave us questions, so we become better and can serve you better. So don't go away, but we'll be back very soon. Take care.